And we begin this hour in the Western Cape. The fight against gender-based violence takes a significant step forward today with the launch of the Thuthuzela Care Centre in Mitchell's Plain. The centre is set to offer comprehensive pre-trial services, including psychosocial, medical and legal support to victims of gender-based violence. With Mitchell's Plains and surrounding areas like Khayelitsha grappling with high rates of GBV, the centre's opening is a crucial development, some people might say, for these communities. The Justice and Correctional Services Minister, that's Thembisile, along with NPA head Shamila Batohi, they're expected to be present to mark this important occasion. Watching developments on the ground is our Vanessa Poonah, who joins us now live from Mitchell's Plain. And Vanessa, I've tried to outline just how significant something like this is, but help us place how far people are hoping a centre like this will go for the troubled communities of Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha.
Yes, good morning to you. And let me just say, it's not just the troubled areas of Khayelitsha and Mitchell's Plain. I mean, this is the 10th Thuthuzela Care Centre, which is now operating in the Western Cape, of course, with similar centres, I think altogether 65 operating across the country. Those gender-based violence statistics, not looking at all what the National Prosecuting Authority, what any authority would like to see in South Africa. And joining me now is the Special Director of Public Prosecutions as well for sexual offences and Community Affairs, Advocate Bonnie Karigamwo, just to explain to us the significance of the centre here today. Advocate, a very warm good morning to you. I spoke to you, I think it was at the opening of the Wynberg Centre. Yes. And of course, the statistics being in terms of women and children suffering gender-based violence, of course, areas such as Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha, etc., are very densely populated. We do have these cases happening here. So the Thuthuzela Centre is essentially a one-stop shop for services. Explain that to me, please.
So it is a one-stop, I want to call court-directed GBV facility, which provides pre-trial services to all victims of gender-based violence. The Thuthuzela model was introduced as an anti-rape strategy, but since 2021, we saw the need to now have it service all victims of gender-based violence. It provides the pre-trial services in the form of psychosocial services, medical and legal, under one roof. So it really reduces secondary trauma because the victim enters these gates, comes into that safe space, and they remain in that safe space until that trauma is contained to such a degree that we are able to provide the other services. The medical services that I'm talking about is the forensic collection of forensic evidence, which is of course crucial to gender-based violence matters. And then of course also the legal services that we provide in the form of a state advocate who will make that victim trial ready. So that we are able to improve our conviction rates in respect of gender-based violence.
Advocate, also, I spoke to some of, the people over here, and they were telling us that it's also a place where not just the investigating officer, but also a Department of Social Development, for example, if a victim cannot go back home, that kind of care takes place right here.
Indeed, it is the multi-sectoral nature of the TCC is what makes it such a brilliant initiative, because you have the doctors, you have the social workers, you have the counsellors, you have the police, you have the prosecutors, all under one roof. So one of the very key parts of what we do is ensuring the safety of the victim. And so all our TCCs are linked to a safe place of safety close by, so that if we assess the victim and we look, because again, it's not just about the case, right? It is about looking at that victim holistically. What are the needs of that particular victim? And so if safety and returning to home is not an option, we have a protocol in place to safeguard that victim. You will remember that we opened recently in Stellenbosch a TCC. That was the 9th TCC. It is the only TCC that actually has its own overnight facilities. And so it is big enough for us to be able to send victims, let's say from a Mitchell's Plain, also to Stellenbosch. So yes, safety, absolute priority.
How do the Thuthuzela centres assist in bringing those cases to court? And then let us talk about the success, the conviction rates. How do we measure the success of centres like these?
Okay, so for us, again, when a victim enters here, not everybody is ready to open a docket. So we cannot force somebody to open a docket. So if you have 100 people entering, but only 90 want to proceed, or only 50 want to proceed, we leave it at that. We don't have a prescription in any event in this country for sexual offence prosecution. So whether you come back whenever, we will be ready. If there's a case, we will proceed. But how do these centres increase the conviction that I believe is that we are empowering the victim? We're empowering them to become survivors that are able to tell their story in a court of law. One of the biggest problems with gender-based violence is that the perpetrator is often someone very close to the victim and someone who is able to manipulate the victim into not proceeding. And so we try and empower the victims in these TCCs to be able to tell their story, to be able to get their dignity back, to be able to understand you're in a safe space where we value what you have to say. And so how does that translate? You've got an empowered victim who wants to tell a court what has happened in the detail that we find that they tell. It's not an easy journey, and not everybody is ready for that journey. But we found that in 2010, our cases that were coming from the TCCs, or the conviction rate in South Africa, was sitting at 60%. Now, in 2024, we're sitting at 78%. Internationally, that is to be applauded if you compare us to other countries. But those are only the cases that are going through the Thuthuzela Care Centres. You know, we have 65. This is a vast country. We need more to really make an impact and make sure that all victims are going through the TCCs.
Thank you so much for that explanation, Advocate Bonnie Karigamo, of course, there from the National Prosecuting Authority, just giving us an indication in terms of the importance of centres like this, saying that the 65 the country has is not nearly enough, and then also citing some figures there that cases that have come through these centres as much as a 74% conviction rate. And of course, it's about getting victims of gender-based violence court-ready in order to get those cases to the courts and then to secure those convictions. And the centre has been operational for about a month or so, but it is being officially opened here in Mitchells Plain today.
It's an important intervention, and hopefully, of course, they achieve all that they set out to. Vanessa Poonah, part of our team, live to us there from Mitchells Plain in the Western Cape. Thanks very much indeed.